Hi, I'm Larry Brown.
Larry Brown got his start in broadcasting on Armed Forces Radio in Iran during World War II. After coming home, Brown joined one of Philadelphia's hottest stations, WPEN, where he was a disc jockey, newscaster, and announcer for some 20 years. He also co-produced Danny and the Juniors' big hit, At the Hop. Dick Covington was a member of the first team of anchors on the new KYW News Radio in 1965. He is such an enduring presence on Philadelphia radio that his voice continues to be heard on the station ID not only 25 years after his retirement in 1986, but also more than 7 years following his passing in 2004. Jack Creamer wrote and produced numerous programs for the NBC, ABC, and Mutual radio networks. But in Philadelphia, he was best known as the commentator on the 1948 through 1954 Gimbel's Thanksgiving Day Parade telecasts, and for his program, The Handyman, on Channel 3, then known as WPTZ. Tommy DeNoble started out as one of the regular dancers on Bandstand, started his own singing group called the Stardusters, and was an actor on a variety of radio and TV shows, and even some movies. When the acting and singing roles faded, Tommy DeNoble became a television engineer for Channel 29, where he stayed for 32 years. Bob Dome was a Philadelphia and national advertising executive and a regional radio and TV representative. In 1955, he became the first president of TRAC, the Television and Radio Advertising Club, now known as the Philly Ad Club. He was also founding member of Broadcast Pioneers, its 9th president, and a member of the board for many years. Randy Kraft was the first person in Philadelphia television history to anchor news on all 3 of the city's major stations. A staff announcer at WFIL Radio in the late 40s, he moved over to WFIL TV in 1949 to become news announcer for the station's 2 evening newscasts. 2 years later, he went over to WCAU TV, then later to Channel 3, WPTZ. Jack Lamar was a jack of all trades at WCAM Radio in Camden. From 1948 through 1980, he served as morning drive desk jockey, worked in news, sports, sales, and promotion, and became program director and general manager. He was also the racetrack announcer at Philadelphia Park in Bensalem, Pennsylvania, from 1974 to 1987. After stints in Syracuse, Indianapolis, and Buffalo, Don Lancer came to Philadelphia in 1970 and served as an anchor at KYW News Radio for 37 years. He was also its business and financial editor for more than a quarter of a century, and often exchanged banter and insults with business commentator Fred Sherman. Norm Leebron wore many hats: disc jockey, talk show host, TV producer, university professor, entrepreneur, career counselor, salesman extraordinaire, father of 5, and husband to longtime Broadcast Pioneers board member Carol Leebron. His credits include WCAU, WRCV, WPVI, WNEW in New York, and 25 years as a professor at Drexel. Helen Lipkin was one of the first, if not the first, female disc jockey in Philadelphia in the late 1930s. In the 40s, she hosted a Saturday morning children's radio show and a weekly TV show called At Home with Helen. After raising her family, she initiated a program to bring in guest speakers for the students at Temple University's School of Communications and Theater. Mac McGuire first appeared on radio at age 9 as a singer. He worked at several Midwestern radio stations while in high school, then in 1943 came to Philadelphia as a disc jockey on WCAU, and later WIP and several other stations. He also sang cowboy ballads with his group called the Harmony Rangers, which broadcast on both WIP and the Mutual Network. Tom Moorehead was sports director at WFIL Radio in the late 40s. He also hosted a radio variety show and some music shows, and he hosted a hit afternoon TV show on WFIL-TV called Stop, Look, and Listen. Moorehead was president of the Broadcast Pioneers of Philadelphia during the 1969-70 term and passed away in May of 1970.
The Space Museum today at Cape Canaveral.
An expert in spaceflight and science, Philadelphia native Roy Neal covered all of the Mercury missions and later reported the Gemini and Apollo missions and the early space shuttle flights. His early career, though, was in Philadelphia at WIBG, KYW, and WPTZ, where he was the newsman on the Ernie Kovacs Show. Charlie O'Donnell was the announcer on many TV game shows throughout the decades, most notably Wheel of Fortune from 1975 to 80 and 1989 through 2010. But in the mid-50s, he was the program director at Philadelphia's WHAT Radio, where he discovered and launched the career of future Philadelphia radio legend, High Lit. Joel A. Spivak was a pioneer in talk radio, heard in Philadelphia from 1968 through 1980, first on WCAU radio and later WWDB-FM. He then moved on to Washington, San Francisco, and back to Washington on both radio and TV. A decades-long smoker, Spivak suddenly quit the habit and became a spokesman for the nonprofit Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids. Please welcome each and every one of these outstanding individuals into the Broadcast Pioneers Hall of Fame.